You've heard about AMMs, you've heard about XLS30D on the XRP Ledger. What are all those words? What does it mean? And can I make money from it? I think those are the big questions in the community. Let's get into it. But before I do, if you are interested in hearing more of the information I get in the background with my conversations and my research, then feel free to book a call with me one-on-one. The links are in the description, or you can scan the QR code. Hello, it's Future Lewis here. We actually had David Schwartz comment on the thread that I made about AMMs or XLS30D, so stay tuned for his contribution to the thread. Was it good news or bad news? Let's see. AMMs, automated market makers. That's the topic of today's video. I'm going to do my best to explain it to you. I think what I'm going to do is bring you from zero understanding to in the region of kind of 3/4 of the understanding required to be an expert in this field. I am by no means an expert in anything code related or XRP Ledger related. So if you're curious about extra information, check out the AMM thread I made on Twitter. You can also use the QR code for that. And hopefully by then we'll have David Schwartz or some other really interesting people comment on AMMs and provide extra information. So XLS30D is a proposal for implementing AMMs on the XRP Ledger. And at its core, an AMM is essentially like a decentralized exchange. And there's so many mathematical formulas and like all these calculations and signs that I don't understand that go into calculating how to actually execute trades in this way. But the basic thing you need to know is that when you're on an exchange, for example, you'll see like an order book where it goes green and red and there's loads of numbers flowing around on the screen. This doesn't operate like an order book. It operates in a different way. And actually, instead of an order book, it actually uses a liquidity pool in order to facilitate the trades that happen within it. We've seen all kinds of different AMMs in DeFi, but the XRP Ledger is presenting a brand new way of doing it that obviously provides an interesting way for us to potentially be earning yields on our assets using XLS30D. And of course, right at the end, we're going to go into all the ways that you can actually even make money and whether I've actually come to a conclusion about the percentage yield you could get with AMMs. But again, all at the end of the video, so you've got to watch now. And while you're here, you might as well click subscribe. In the XLS30D proposal, each AMM instance has 2 liquidity pools and a unique token that goes with it called an LP. This is a liquidity pool token. When you put assets into the pool, you actually receive liquidity pool tokens, and these tokens represent your share of the entire pool. Hope this is making sense, but it's about to get more complicated because I'm going to add numbers, everybody. Ready? Ready for this? Okay, let's go. So imagine you've got 2 people called Alice and Bob, and they actually create an AMM on the XRP Ledger, and they create their AMM using XRP and USD trading. So let's say Alice deposits 1,000 XRP and 1,000 USD. She would receive 2,000 liquidity pool tokens because 1,000 XRP, $1,000, 2,000 liquidity tokens. Now we've got Bob who adds 500 XRP and 500 USD. He gets 1,000 liquidity tokens. So in total now, the AMM has 1,500 XRP and 1,500 USD. which has created 3,000 liquidity pool tokens. Massage your brain. Massage your brain. These are simple numbers, but my head hurts already as well. Alice on her own has 2,000 liquidity pool tokens, which represents 2/3 of the entire liquidity pool, the entire liquidity. And Bob obviously owns the rest. He owns 1/3 of the entire liquidity pool. And basically what you can do is take these tokens, these LP tokens, and redeem them for a proportional share of the total liquidity. And in that redemption of the assets, everyone else in the liquidity pool, because they are providing liquidity, get paid fees. They basically earn a yield in a roundabout way. Also, everyone who provides liquidity to the pool gets to vote on changes made to the parameters within the AMM. There's some really, really cool stuff that happens here, and I'm going to get into that in a second. So there's actually the introduction of a whole suite of different transaction types, and I'm going to read them off here. One is AMM deposit, AMM withdraw, AMM trade, and AMM bid. All of those different transactions are different ways that you can interact with the AMM. And AMM bid was the most kind of unique one to me, because you can actually make transactions that bid for special privileges on the AMM. And we're going to get into that in a sec. And the assets within XLS30D are priced with a very specific model, and it's called the constant product formula. And it means the quantities of the assets within the liquidity pools stays exactly the same at all times. And that means that the relative price of the assets changes as the trades occur. And that obviously creates this automatic pricing system to make sure the price is always accurate at all times. Now that may be a step too far for most people and in complexity, and it kind of is for me as well. But let's get into the juicy part. XLS30D also proposes a voting mechanism for setting the trading fee. So the people who provide the liquidity with their votes can say the trading fee is actually higher or lower than it currently is. And obviously all the people who hold the LP tokens can vote on that to decide. The more LP tokens you hold, the more say you have in that vote. Basically giving the power over the AMM to the liquidity providers. This is essentially creating your own banking system, right? You're in charge yourself, you, and not just you. You could also be an institution controlling these things for yourself as well. Now, my personal favorite thing about the AMM and the way it kind of works on the back end is their continuous auction mechanism. Let's explain that. And this is where I think AMM bid comes into play as a transaction type, because it allows the LP token holders, the liquidity provider token holders, to bid for a 24-hour time slot where they can get different parameters on their trading. So they can get extra benefits from their trades. It's kind of like if you're a sprinter, for example, and you could just over a 24-hour period bid for the chance to have extra hamstring power that day, meaning you can go faster and have an advantage over the rest of the field. If you actually win the bid in the auction, you can choose basically what you want to do with your trading. And here are the things you can do. You could reduce your trading fees for those 24 hours. And if you've obviously reduced your trading fees, you can earn a higher yield because that separation between normal trading fees and the ones that you get for the 24 hours has obviously grown in size. And if you reduce the trading fees, there are arbitrage opportunities there for you that don't exist for other people. And arbitrage is essentially taking the price from one location and the price from another location, buying and selling between those and making the difference in the price between those different markets. But it's the same asset on both sides. But like I said earlier, it's not just individuals that can benefit from AMMs, it's also the institutions. We are likely to have these institutions come flooding in and using AMMs, their own ones, of being the liquidity providers, to take advantage of these kind of auctions where they can get lower fees for 24 hours and all kinds of stuff, or the burn rate can be higher or lower. They can dictate basically what happens within their AMM. And we talked about Project Mariana a few days ago about how the Bank of International Settlements and the Monetary Authority of Singapore, the Central Bank of Switzerland, they're all experimenting with AMM liquidity providers, right? They're doing that already. They've gone through the tests. They also said that Project Mariana is going to go into full effect, actually using the technologies that they've tested later on this year. And guess when the XLS30D comes into play? Well, we have good reason to think it's happening in October this year. The timelines match is what I'm saying. But if you are an institution, you're going to handle these things differently than you would as an individual. And here are the variety of ways that institutions could be involved with AMMs, more specifically XLS30D AMMs on the XRP Ledger. So if an institution, for example, wanted to deliver a serious amount of assets into a liquidity pool, the institutions could actually earn fees from the trades that happen within that AMM. So instead of assets lying dormant in the background, they can actually be working to generate a revenue for that institution. You know, now I think about it, if we think about this community as a whole, on this channel specifically, an AMM could be created for this community to where we all have kind of our assets acting as liquidity, and we can earn a yield from that in a way that is conducive to this specific community. And so if we can do it as a collective, as a community, and individuals can do it, and institutions can do it, this is a really adaptable situation that you can really drive in your favor if you are in a group of known people in a like-minded community like this. I just find that very interesting. I don't know how feasible that is for me as an individual to create that for the community. But if you are interested in something like that, and you would prefer to be in a situation like that, providing liquidity in a known community rather than just any random person on an AMM on the whole internet, then let me know in the comments. That'd be an interesting topic to discuss more. Also, institutions could provide liquidity or create a liquid environment for assets that typically aren't very liquid. And they could bring that kind of market awareness to these assets by establishing a fair market price. And that's obviously very good for a healthy functioning market. Additionally, institutions could hedge their exposure to certain assets by providing the liquidity to the AMM. And even if that asset specifically drops in price, they can still earn money from the trading fees and therefore mitigating the potential loss. These are all kind of really good benefits for institutions to be involved. And here's the big one for institutions. They could even establish their own tokens and use the AMMs to help people buy and sell their own asset and convert it between the liquidity pair. And that obviously helps to distribute their own token into the whole blockchain and crypto sphere. And of course, if you have lots of money, it goes for whales as well and institutions, but you can diversify your portfolio by contributing to lots of different liquidity pools and earning fees along the way, but utilizing all of those different asset pairs as well. And I keep saying this, but I keep saying, and the big one for institutions, and then the big one for institutions, but this one really is quite important and fundamental. But because you can create these pairs, these liquidity providing pairs, it would actually allow institutions to have that interoperability that they're looking for. You'd be able to create these pairs across different blockchains. And obviously that's very big. And we know through Project Mariana that even R3 are involved in that. And R3 are the players in the world that are focused on interoperability. So you've got Project Mariana talking about AMMs, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, you've got R3 involved for interoperability. It just all makes sense that this is what's happening. And there is a real chance that we could see institutional use of XLS30D AMMs. But we are here to figure out how much we can earn ourselves. What's going to be the yield from these AMMs? How's that all going to work? And let's get into that. You might not like the answer. The long and short of it is there is no way to calculate a yield. And if there is, it's far beyond my pay grade. There are so many factors at play that it's impossible to create a yield out of nowhere. There's so many factors. How much liquidity is there in that AMM? What have the liquidity providers voted on as being the trading fee? How do those 24-hour auctions work? How do they play into the yield that you generate? How much liquidity is there in that specific pair? That every single pair is going to be different and it's all going to interact differently. And so I don't have an answer for you, and I'm really sorry about that, but I can't get the answer. All I urge you to do right now is we need to look for the answer, because I would love an answer. Now this is where David Schwartz came in. I can't believe he actually came in and did this. It's so cool. I'm going to put it on the side of the screen here, his contribution to all this. And I think what had happened in the community was that people started talking about something called invariable loss or invariant loss, which is where over time you have a risk to your assets being lost and impermanent loss, and where you can't get those assets back. But David Schwartz kind of came in with a really different way of looking at it that actually kind of alluded to the fact that this may be the most secure AMM structure that we've ever seen. And actually, there may be no downside. So let's get into what he said. So I'm going to read my tweet that he was replying to, and then we'll get into it. There are too many variables. I don't have an answer for you. This is where someone smarter than me swoops in, which isn't hard, to provide more information on this topic. And of course, at the beginning of this thread, I tagged David Schwartz, and in he comes, swoops in to give more information on the topic. And he said this. There's an interesting variant, assuming there's no bugs in the code. For a balanced contribution to the pool, you are guaranteed you can redeem your LP tokens for an amount of both assets whose product is equal to or greater than the product of the amounts you contributed. Meaning, even if you don't get the same amount of XRP back or dollars back, it will be weighted in such a way to where you get the exact same amount in value back. So it will be equal or greater than. And obviously that greater than element, I believe, is where the yield comes in, where you can earn money from this stuff. Next, he said, so for example, if XRP is 50 cents and you contribute 10 XRP and $5 to the pool, the design guarantees that you can redeem your LP tokens for an amount of dollars and XRP whose product, when you add them together, is at least 50. The algorithm works to increase that product and never allows it to drop. This is really crazy. Minus Wells then comes in and says, impermanent loss is a massive turnoff. If we can make this a negligible variable, it's going to make staking LP coins extremely attractive. To which David Schwartz replied to him. He was getting all in there with everyone. Impermanent loss is almost always less than the loss you would have had if you had just held the asset that lost value. For example, if you hold crypto in an AMM that loses 50% of its value, your impermanent loss will generally be more like 30% because of the number of tokens goes up. And then minus Wells contributes again as this final point. He said that is a great point. I should have been more specific. The impermanent loss derived from arbitrage bots has been an undesirable fact of life on other layer ones. The features included in XLS 30D seem to mitigate that quite well. Yes, you're really good. I'm happy that other people can understand this stuff because my brain doesn't work sometimes. These features make me feel the deal is much more fair for the LP providers. These features are much more appealing to me personally. Amazing contributions that we've had here from David Schwartz and Minus Wells. Go and follow both of them. If you don't follow Minus Wells yet, do. He seems to have some really good inputs in here. And so the concept of impermanent loss is, if it's not completely mitigated, it's drastically mitigated. You know, it seems to be that this is very much in the favor of the LPs. That would be me and you contributing liquidity to these pools. That's all from Future Lewis. I've talked with Jake Claver in the background. He seems to know a little bit more about XLS 30D than I do. So reach out to him on Twitter and get him involved. And not just him, of course, don't spam him. But you've got Molly Elmore, you've got Patrick Riley, you've got Zach Rector, you've got XRPP, you've got Digital Perspectives, you've got all of these influencers that could all share our information and collaborate to come to a conclusive answer. I would love to do that underneath this video or on the thread that I created on Twitter. Or should I say x.com? There's so many smart people out here that can find an answer. I think we can do it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Something I really want to touch on, just to close this out, for all of those people that have watched all the way through this video. I've made it all sound quite light-hearted, this XLS 30D stuff, the AMM stuff. But really, it's quite serious, because when I look at my plan for the future and how I plan to handle my assets moving forward through the wealth generation and maintenance period, being a liquidity provider is one of the fundamental strategies in my overall plan of using the assets that I'm never going to sell. That's my XRP. As it stands right now, I'm currently moving my assets into Polysign because I know that custody providers like Polysign are going to allow you to link your XRP while it's in their custody, link that into these liquidity pools to earn a yield. Now, whether that yield is high or low, it's kind of not important, because all I need to know is that my assets are secured, protected, but also contributing to my cash flow. I also assume that this will be the case and possible for you to provide liquidity while your assets are still in your cold storage wallet, for example. There are ways for all those technical people for you to link your assets while they're dormant in one place, to link them to be useful in another place. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing with my XRP. If you've got thought processes and all of that, and you kind of want to pick my brain about it, because I am personally going through it, I'm having conversations in the background, of course, you can book a one-on-one call with me. You can scan the QR code or click the link in the description. If you're new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I post videos almost every single day during the week. I also have interviews with experts in the field, and you can click that video right there to see those. The algorithm has also suggested another video for you that is right above. You can click my face to subscribe to this channel, and you can click that other button to go straight through to my Discord, which is undergoing renovations but is about to launch under a completely new name, completely different offering. It's going to be absolutely amazing, and I hope to see you there. Stay emotionless, and I'll see you in the next one.